A Greek soldier stands before a naked monk. The monk doesn't move, doesn't speak. The soldier drops his sword. This moment changed the world, and nobody saw it coming. "2,300 years ago, Greek warriors laid down their weapons to become Buddhist monks. Their story vanished from history. Until now. What's up, wisdom seekers? Matt here from Buddha's Wisdom. Man, this story is like finding out your strict math teacher used to be a rock star. Imagine this. Greek warriors, you know, the tough guys with abs and spears, dropping their weapons to become Buddhist monks. Talk about a career change, right? Seriously, this story is wild. Greek warriors ditching their weapons to become monks? Greek kings bowing to Buddha? And the craziest part, Greeks actually created the first Buddha statues ever made. Yeah, you heard that right. Buddhist temples across Asia are packed with Greek secrets hiding in plain sight. Greek faces in ancient carvings, Greek designs in temple pillars, even Greek words written in Buddhist texts, and nobody noticed for centuries. From lost kingdoms to hidden monasteries, from warrior kings to wandering philosophers, this is one of history's greatest untold stories. Among these Greeks who changed Buddhism forever was Pyrrho, a soldier who returned to Greece with revolutionary ideas that still influence philosophy today. The year is 326 BCE. Alexander's army reaches India's borders. They're about to discover something more powerful than any weapon. These Greek warriors had conquered the known world. From Macedonia through Persia, their 40,000-strong army seemed unstoppable. Their swords carved through armies. Their shields broke enemy lines. Nothing could stop them, until they met men who owned nothing, not even clothes. The Greeks called them gymnosophists, the naked philosophers. Yeah, you heard that right. Alexander's soldiers didn't know whether to take notes or offer them a blanket. In the forest near Taxila, these Buddhist monks sat in meditation for days. They felt no pain. They feared nothing. Alexander's soldiers watched as one monk pressed a hot iron to his skin without flinching. Another stood on one leg from sunrise to sunset. These weren't mere tricks. They were demonstrations of complete mastery over body and mind. One monk, Dandamis, refused Alexander's invitation to join his court. When threatened with death, he replied, "You can never kill me. You may destroy my body, but my soul will remain free. Your empire is temporary, but the truth I seek is eternal." The Greeks documented these encounters in detail. One Socrates, Alexander's captain, wrote about a monk named Calanus who drew a line in the dirt. "See this line?" he said. "This is human life. I can erase parts of it, move it around, but the line stays a line. Just like your conquests, you move borders, claim territories, but life remains life." Some soldiers dismissed these monks as madmen, but others saw deeper wisdom. They noticed how these monks lived without fear, without anxiety, without the constant desire for more. In their simplicity, they found something Alexander's gold couldn't buy: peace. Among Alexander's men, one soldier would become the living bridge between Greek and Buddhist thought. His name was Pyrrho. Before India, he was a painter, an artist turned warrior. But what he saw in India transformed him into something else entirely. According to ancient accounts, Pyrrho spent 18 months with these monks, studying their practices. His student Timon wrote that what fascinated Pyrrho most was the Buddhist idea that our opinions, not external things, cause our suffering. When Pyrrho returned to Greece, stories about him spread quickly. Some claimed he became so detached from worldly concerns that he'd ignore approaching wagons, though his student Timon probably exaggerated these tales to make a point. What's certain is that Pyrrho brought back ideas that would transform Greek philosophy. He founded a new school of thought that questioned everything, even the act of questioning itself. "Why do you act like this?" they asked. "Because "Nothing is inherently good or bad," he answered. "Our judgments make it so." In Greece, Pyrrho founded a new school of philosophy that merged Greek and Buddhist insights. From Buddhism, he took the idea that attachment to fixed views causes suffering. From Greek tradition, he kept the systematic questioning of all beliefs. The result was Greek skepticism, a new philosophy that taught peace through suspending judgment and accepting uncertainty. His students called it following the Buddha in Greek clothes. In their military camps, Greek soldiers began debating these ideas. If true power meant mastery over oneself rather than others, what was the point of conquest? If happiness came from wanting nothing, why were they fighting for wealth and glory? These questions spread through the army like wildfire. Some soldiers requested to stay behind in India. Others began practicing meditation in their tents. Even Alexander himself spent hours questioning these monks about life, death, and the nature of the soul. But this was just the beginning. As more Greeks crossed into India, as kingdoms rose and cultures merged, something even more remarkable was about to happen. The Greeks were about to transform Buddhism itself. The philosophical clash was immediate and profound. These weren't just strange ascetics, they were sophisticated thinkers who challenged everything the Greeks believed. This was happening at a crucial moment in Indian history. The Mauryan Empire was rising. King Chandragupta, who would unite most of India, watched these exchanges with interest. His court was a melting pot of Greek ambassadors, Buddhist monks, and Hindu priests. His grandson, Ashoka, would later become Buddhism's greatest patron. Alexander's scribes wrote frantically, recording every detail. The monks wouldn't move if a wild animal approached. They slept on bare ground in winter. They fasted for weeks. But what shocked the Greeks most wasn't their physical feats. It was their arguments. In the city of Taxila, a great center of learning, Greek philosophers met Buddhist masters daily. This wasn't just casual exchange. It was a clash of civilizations. Greek logic met Buddhist emptiness. Aristotle's physics faced Buddhist impermanence. The debates were recorded on palm leaves and copper plates, some surviving to this day. The Greeks prided themselves on their debates. Their philosophical schools had shaped empires, but these Buddhist monks had a different way of thinking. In Athens, philosophers built complex arguments. In Taxila, monks demolished them with simple questions. A Greek philosopher challenged a monk about the nature of reality at Taxila's great university. "What exists?" asked the Greek. "What you think exists," replied the monk. "Then nothing truly exists," pressed the Greek. "Does your question exist?" The monk smiled. This exchange happened during a crucial period. Greek settlements were growing in Bactria and Gandhara. Trade routes connected Athens to Pataliputra. Greek coins circulated alongside Indian ones. Greek theater influenced Indian drama. And slowly, Buddhist ideas were traveling west while Greek art moved east. The naked truth these monks taught was simple, but revolutionary. The source of human suffering isn't in the world around us. It's in our own minds. For Greeks trained to conquer the world, this idea turned everything upside down. It would influence generations of Greek thinkers, from the skeptics to the Neoplatonists. But the greatest transformation was yet to come. As Alexander's empire fractured, something unprecedented emerged in Central Asia, the Indo-Greek kingdom. Greek rulers who spoke Sanskrit. Greek cities with Buddhist stupas. A fusion of worlds no one could have predicted. This remarkable kingdom flourished from 180 BCE to 10 CE. For nearly 2 centuries, Greek kings ruled Buddhist lands, creating history's first deliberate fusion of European and Indian cultures. At its peak under King Menander around 150 BCE, the kingdom stretched from modern Afghanistan through Pakistan into northern India. This wasn't just a military empire, it was a cultural revolution. The evidence lies buried in ancient cities across Afghanistan and Pakistan. At Ai Khanum, archaeologists uncovered a Greek gymnasium next to Indian shrines. Delicate Greek pottery sits beside Buddhist relics. Stone inscriptions switch between Greek and Aramaic, then Sanskrit and Prakrit, sometimes in the same sentence. The city itself tells the story of this fusion. Greek columns line streets leading to Buddhist stupas. In one building, researchers found a treasury with Greek coins alongside Indian jewelry. A stone block bears the inscription of Delphic maxims in pure Greek, while nearby, Buddhist texts were written on palm leaves in Greek letters. At its heart stood King Menander, known to Indians as Melinda. His kingdom stretched from Afghanistan to India, and the archaeological footprint is massive. His coins have been found from Central Asia to Bengal. Some show him as a Greek warrior, others as a Buddhist devotee. One remarkable coin shows the first ever image of a Greek king in the lotus position. Imagine being such a powerful king that you could have anything you want, and you choose. Philosophy homework. That's like winning the lottery and buying a library card. But Menander was built different. The Milinda Panha records his famous dialogues with the monk Nagasena. These weren't just philosophical discussions. They were the blueprint for a new kind of kingdom. Archaeological findings support these texts. Buddhist monasteries with Greek architectural elements, meditation halls with Greek-style theaters attached. In Taxila, recent excavations revealed something extraordinary: a Greek temple converted into a Buddhist monastery. The lower layers show typical Greek architecture, but as you move up, Buddhist elements appear. It's like watching cultural fusion happen in layers of stone. The discoveries keep coming. In Bamiyan, before the giant Buddhas were destroyed, researchers found traces of Greek pigments in the original paint. In Hada, they uncovered thousands of sculptures showing Buddha with the face of Apollo. At Begram, Greek-style glassworks were found alongside Indian ivory carvings. But perhaps most telling are the ordinary objects. A clay lamp with Hercules on one side and Buddha on the other. A child's toy showing a Greek soldier in meditation pose. Kitchen pottery with Greek patterns, but Indian cooking residues. These weren't just two cultures living side by side. They were becoming something new. For nearly 3 centuries, these Greek kingdoms flourished. From Bactria to the Punjab, they created something entirely new. Greek astronomy merged with Indian mathematics. Greek drama influenced Buddhist storytelling. And most importantly, Greek art was about to give Buddhism its most recognizable symbol. From Buddha's death in 483 BCE until the rise of the Indo-Greek kingdoms around 180 BCE, nearly 3 centuries, no one had dared to show the Buddha's face. Buddhism spread across Asia without anyone drawing Buddha's face. 0 portraits, not even a sketch. Everyone knew his teachings, but if Buddha walked into a room, nobody would recognize him. Instead, they used symbols: footprints, an empty throne, a lotus flower. Then the Greeks arrived with their challenge-accepted attitude, and everything changed. In the workshops of Gandhara, Greek sculptors took an unprecedented step. Using local schist stone and stucco, they brought Buddhist ideas to life through Greek techniques. The stone's dark color let them create subtle shadows, perfect for showing meditation's inner calm on an outer face. These artists used Greek proportional systems, the same mathematical ratios that built the Parthenon, to create the Buddha's face. They calculated the exact distances between eyes, the precise curve of the lips, the perfect arch of the eyebrows. Each measurement followed Greek rules of divine beauty. Look closely at these early Buddhas. The wavy hair, that's Apollo's style. The slight smile, pure Greek. Even the robes flow like those on Greek statues. But something new emerged in the details. The bump on Buddha's head, the Ushnisha, represents enlightened wisdom. The elongated earlobes recall his princely past. The dot between his eyebrows, the urna, symbolizes spiritual sight. The fusion went deeper than surface details. Greek artists learned to show abstract Buddhist concepts through visual symbols. A Buddha's half-closed eyes show the balance between awareness and detachment. The robes, though Greek in style, reveal nothing of the body beneath, suggesting freedom from physical form. These Greek artists were basically the OG Instagram filters. They were like, okay, we'll take Apollo's haircut, add some spiritual glow-up features, and boom, you've got the perfect combo of Greek style and Buddhist chill. No filter needed. This new artistic language spread like wildfire. Merchants carried small schist Buddha statues along the Silk Road. Chinese pilgrims took sketches home. Each region adapted the style. Korea made the faces more angular. China softened the features. Japan refined the proportions. But all kept that original Greek sense of human divinity. The style traveled south too. In the caves of Ajanta, Indian artists merged Greek naturalism with their own flowing lines. In Sri Lanka, the serene smile took on local features while keeping its Greek essence. Southeast Asian Buddhas grew more elaborate, but maintained those core Greek proportions. But here's the real miracle. These weren't just beautiful objects. They solved a philosophical problem. How do you show the face of someone who taught that the self doesn't exist? Greek artists found a way. They created an image of perfect serenity, a face that shows what lies beyond the self. We can still see their process today. In the ruins of Gandharan workshops, archaeologists found practice pieces, artists learning to carve the perfect curve of an ear, the exact angle of a meditation pose. They weren't just copying. They were creating a new visual language that would spread across continents. This art became Buddhism's universal language. From tiny amulets to mountain-sized statues, from Tibet to Thailand, that Greek-inspired face carried Buddhism's message across cultures and centuries. Every Buddha statue today, whether in a temple or a garden shop, carries the fingerprints of those Greek artists who dared to show the face of enlightenment. But the story doesn't end with art. Hidden in monastery ruins and desert caves, ancient scrolls revealed an even deeper connection. In 1994, archaeologists in Afghanistan uncovered fragments of bark manuscripts. Greek letters spelled out Buddhist teachings. The monks weren't just learning Greek art, they were writing their sacred texts in Greek. The Gandharan scrolls changed everything we knew. Written in a mix of Greek and Gandhari script, these manuscripts showed Buddhist monks wrestling with Greek concepts. They used the Greek word pneuma for consciousness, cosmos for the universe. One fragment shows them adapting Aristotle's logic to explain Buddhist causation. In the ruins of Taxila, a copper scroll revealed something extraordinary. A Buddhist text about meditation began with a quote from Pythagoras. The writer seamlessly connected Greek ideas about harmony with Buddhist teachings about inner peace. This wasn't cultural borrowing, it was true synthesis. The translations tell us even more. When Greeks encountered the Buddhist concept of sunyata, or emptiness, they used their word kenon, the void. But they added notes explaining how the Buddhist void was different from the Greek one. These weren't just translators, they were philosophical bridge builders. Some scrolls show heated debates. A Greek philosopher argues that truth must be permanent, unchanging. A Buddhist monk responds by using Greek logical methods to prove that change itself is the only constant. In the margins, later readers added comments in both scripts, continuing the debate across centuries. The Bamiyan cave findings stunned researchers. Get this. These caves were like the ancient world's most ambitious crossover episode. Imagine finding a place where Greek doctors and Buddhist monks were comparing notes. It's like discovering that Hippocrates and Buddha were sliding into each other's DMs, sharing medical advice and meditation tips. Astronomical calculations used Greek methods to time Buddhist festivals. Even music theory merged. Greek harmonics applied to Buddhist chants. Most fascinating are the philosophical dialogues. One scroll records a debate about the self. The Greeks argued for a permanent soul, using Plato's proofs. The Buddhists responded with questions that sound surprisingly modern. If the self is permanent, why does it change? If it's unified, why does it conflict with itself? In a recent discovery, archaeologists found a scroll case with an unexpected text, a Greek philosophical work filled with Buddhist concepts. Had Greeks begun adopting Buddhist ideas in their own writing? The evidence suggests they did. Some Greek philosophers started teaching meditation, others wrote about karma using Greek terms. These manuscripts show us something remarkable: a time when East and West weren't divided, when Greek and Buddhist ideas flowed freely between minds seeking truth. The influence of these texts rippled through centuries. In Alexandria, Greek philosophers began teaching methods suspiciously similar to Buddhist meditation. The Desert Fathers, Christianity's first monks, used practices that mirror Buddhist techniques. Was this a coincidence, or had Greek Buddhist wisdom found new roots? Neoplatonist philosophers wrote about emptying the mind and transcending the self, ideas that would have sounded strange to Plato but familiar to any Buddhist monk. Plotinus, their greatest thinker, taught meditation methods that could have come straight from a Gandharan monastery. The trail leads east, too. Chinese Chan Buddhism, which became Zen in Japan, shows marks of Greek influence. Its emphasis on direct experience over scripture, its use of paradox and logic-breaking questions, these mirror the Greek Buddhist debates in our ancient scrolls. The famous Zen koans might have roots in Greek philosophical puzzles. Islamic scholars discovered these texts during their golden age. They translated Greek philosophy and Buddhist wisdom side by side. The Sufi mystics, in particular, seem to grasp something familiar in these ancient dialogues. Their whirling meditation has an interesting parallel. Greek philosophers had written about circular contemplation. But perhaps the most profound influence was on logic itself. Buddhist debaters, armed with Greek logical methods, developed new ways of arguing about reality. These methods traveled to Tibet, where they still form the backbone of monastic debates. When Tibetan monks clap and stamp during debates today, they're using techniques refined in Greek Buddhist exchanges. The manuscripts even influenced art theory. Persian miniatures show Buddha-like sages in Greek poses. Chinese paintings of monks sometimes give them Greek facial features. Japanese Zen art uses empty space in ways that echo Greek ideas about the void. In Europe, when these texts were rediscovered during the Renaissance, they sparked new interest in Eastern thought. Scholars realized that ancient Greeks had found wisdom in the East. This helped pave the way for the spiritual dialogues we're still having today. These aren't just historical curiosities. They show us something vital, that wisdom doesn't belong to East or West. Truth, when found, transcends borders. Those ancient Greek Buddhist philosophers knew this. Perhaps that's their most important lesson for us today. Modern archaeological digs keep uncovering new surprises. This is giving me serious Indiana Jones vibes, minus the booby traps. Instead of finding the Ark of the Covenant, archaeologists are uncovering evidence of history's greatest cultural crossover. And trust me, this is way cooler than any Marvel team-up. In 2021, they found monastery ruins with Greek inscriptions beneath Taliban-controlled territory. Remote sensing technology reveals entire lost cities where Greeks and Buddhists once lived together. Each discovery fills in another piece of this forgotten chapter. But their legacy lives on in surprising ways. The Greek Buddhist investigation of consciousness follows a clear line through history. Greek philosophers first documented meditation's effects in 326 BCE. Medieval Islamic scholars studied these accounts in their medical texts. European missionaries encountered these practices again in the 1500s. And today, neuroscientists at Harvard study Buddhist monks in MRI machines, asking the same questions their Greek predecessors asked 2 millennia ago. When psychologists use mindfulness for treating anxiety, they're drawing from techniques first explored in Greek Buddhist monasteries. Look at modern Buddhist debates in Tibetan monasteries. Monks still use a method called prasanga, taking an opponent's logic to its absurd conclusion. This technique? Pure Greek dialectic, preserved for 2 millennia in Buddhist tradition. When monks clap their hands and stamp their feet during debates, they're using gestures codified in Greek Buddhist texts. In Japanese Zen temples, students face koans, like, what is the sound of one hand clapping? These mind-breaking riddles mirror the paradoxes Greek Buddhists use to shatter conventional thinking. The famous Zen emphasis on direct experience over book learning, that came from Greek skeptics who joined the Buddhist path. Modern mindfulness apps talk about noting thoughts without judgment, exactly what Greek Buddhist manuscripts described as philosophical observation. Popular meditation techniques like body scanning combine Greek systematic observation with Buddhist awareness practices. Even in architecture, their influence continues. The precise measurements of Thai temples, the symmetrical layouts of Korean monasteries, the geometric mandalas of Tibetan Buddhism, all carry echoes of Greek mathematical principles adapted for Buddhist sacred spaces. The Greek Buddhist tradition of questioning everything survives in unexpected places. When beat poets like Allen Ginsberg combined Greek Dionysian ecstasy with Buddhist meditation, they weren't inventing something new. They were rekindling an ancient flame. When modern philosophers like Peter Singer use Buddhist logic to discuss ethics, they're continuing a dialogue started 2 millennia ago. Some traditions are surprisingly direct descendants. The Christian Desert Fathers, who established Western monasticism, used meditation techniques suspiciously similar to Greek Buddhist practices. Their emphasis on silence, their methods of contemplation, their way of questioning thoughts, all bear the hallmarks of Greek Buddhist influence. The last Greek Buddhist monastery fell over 1,000 years ago, but their experiment continues. Today's mindfulness revolution, the dialogue between science and meditation, the fusion of Eastern wisdom with Western psychology. These aren't new developments. They're the latest chapters in a story that began when a Greek soldier first sat down with a Buddhist monk. Some say there are still undiscovered Greek Buddhist monasteries hidden in the mountains of Central Asia. Satellite images show promising sites. Local legends speak of ruins no Westerner has seen. But perhaps the real undiscovered treasures aren't buried in the ground. They're buried in this ancient collaboration of minds. These Greeks and Buddhists proved something powerful. When different worlds meet with open minds, the impossible becomes possible. Warriors can become monks. Kings can become students. And 2 completely different ways of seeing the world can create something entirely new. Their story matters now more than ever. In a world often divided between East and West, their example shows another way. They remind us that the borders between cultures are more flexible than we think. That wisdom can speak in many languages. That truth knows no nationality. Next time you see a Buddha statue, look closely at that serene Greek face. When you hear about scientists studying meditation, remember the Greek philosophers who first took that journey. And when someone tells you East and West are too different to understand each other, remember the lost Greek Buddhists. They didn't just build bridges between cultures. They showed us those bridges were there all along. But this story has one last twist. Recent satellite images from a remote valley in Afghanistan show something strange. Something that looks like a massive monastery complex, untouched for centuries. Could this be the legendary Great Monastery where Greeks and Buddhists first joined paths? That story will have to wait for another time. If you want to uncover more hidden Buddhist wisdom and mind-blowing historical connections, hit subscribe and join our wisdom-seeking crew here at Buddha's Wisdom. Don't forget to ring that notification bell. You won't want to miss what we discover next. That's all for today, Wisdom Seekers. And remember, this isn't Sparta. This is Buddha's wisdom, where we fight our battles with mindfulness, not spears. See you next time.